especially at Phil Help Gets You Famous. It's been a rough couple of months as far as scheduling is concerned, but EO Dub makes a call. I'm going to always answer. I've been negligent in my duties and need y'all to pardon me on that. Did not mean to give myself a mohawk made out of dreadlocks. That's gross. But I definitely am on here to talk to you guys about any and all things music business wise, which is like a vague, wide concept. But I figured if you're trying to get famous, I could probably help with that. At least a little bit. Maybe show you what you're doing wrong, show you what you're doing right, go over what you want to do, talk about the stuff you don't want to do. Just as long as there's no male strippers coming on the screen, I'm more than happy to keep the conversation going. If you're gonna bring on a male stripper, I only ask that you inform us ahead of time. Just to inform us ahead of time. We need to set a time limit. He can't just hog up, and we definitely need you to keep it from the waist up. Please and thank you. I will start off by opening the room to any and all questions about whatever it is you guys want to speak about. Go. Hey, Dama. Is that a leopard shower cap, Dama Nils?
It's just a hair thing.
I am protecting her.
That is the ultimate in, oh my God, you look like you're about to go to Atlantic City.
You stupid.
In like 50 years, you look like you're about to hit Atlantic City and you're ready to roll the dice and get that craps money.
You stupid.
Unarmed bandits all day.
See, that's why I keep my camera off when Mecc is around.
I could lie to you, but I'd be lying to you. Nobody ever wants me to do that. Besides that, I'm a terrible, terrible liar. Like super awful.
But we're here to tell the truth, though, right? So while we're gearing up to have some more participants walk in the room, I'd be interested in saying, Mecca, what do you think about the Clubhouse platform, and how do you think it is benefiting or a detriment to artists? And give us a dissertation on that, please.
And
hilarious.
What is the platform?
Say what?
And what is the Clubhouse platform?
Oh, Clubhouse is okay. We'll start with there and then we'll work our way into Vans, because Vans is a more all-encompassing question, bigger question. Clubhouse, to start off with, is an app that's been opened up. It's still in beta testing, which is why it's invite only. But I don't know. I'm gonna age myself real quick. If anybody here remembers the party lines, it's basically a party line. It's like everybody's talking at the same time, but it can be regulated by someone. So with that in mind, I consider Clubhouse a podcast in real time. It's a real-time podcast with like everyone in the audience. If you've ever seen Joe Budden do his podcast live, it's basically like that, except there are a lot more mics to give out to the audience. And it's interactive. So it's an interactive podcast. It's being, I'm up there. There's a bunch of people up there. It's being utilized more now to Van's question. Because of the people up there, because of the access that's given. It's so funny because I'm writing a Mechanism Monday about this right now. It has a lot of pluses to it. I think it's more pluses than minuses, to be honest. One, personally, I get to hear a lot of people make dumbasses out of themselves. I get to hear a lot of people who I thought were knowledgeable either expose the fact that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or see that they're like misleading people on purpose And I'm not sure why that is either. It's really bizarre, but as an audience member, the opportunity to sit back and really just listen and pay attention, which is where learning comes from, is unmatched. And you don't get a chance to, you may not get a chance to directly interact, but the ability to walk away with a lot of gems from people who you would probably never be in the room with is insane. So it definitely has a lot of benefits to it if you can find the rooms. The downside is, like I said, much like in real life, you're going to need to vet this information. You're going to need to make sure that the person you're getting this info from is somebody worth listening to. And I personally am hearing a lot of people talk a lot of nonsense. You get the chance to hear the philosophies of the people that you look up to industry wise. And some of these people absolutely suck. Some of the shit that's coming out of their mouths is terrible, terrible advice for up and coming artists. I'm seeing how detached a lot of these people are from reality. They talk.
What's the worst piece of advice that you heard on Clubhouse? Because I've heard a few, but what's the worst piece of advice that you heard that like stuck out, that was like, what? That's so fucking backwards and wrong. Like, do you have any of those?
Oh God, Dama, I would have needed to like be writing it down. It's not a. Oh, there's so many people who get that prize. One person suggested that artists, they were like, what do you think about 360 deals? And they were like, well, if you ever offer the 360, what you need to do. No. Okay, this one guy came on and he was trying to be a mogul. He was starting as a mogul. He had a bunch of artists signed to him, and he was looking for a situation and a way to put them on. And the person who he spoke to, I'm not sure who answered, but that person told him to make sure his lawyer and all of the artists, he had like maybe 4 or 5 artists under him, so all 5 of their attorneys and then the label's attorney all got a chance to meet. And it didn't matter for how long, just make sure that this was happening. And all I could think about was, where are these struggling up and coming artists all getting individual lawyers from? How did you figure that these people can afford lawyers? Like, where did you get that from? And he was dead serious. He said it like it wasn't a thing, like lawyers are just falling from the sky. And somebody else suggested that artists need to get their road chops up and need to get out and perform, as if we're not in the middle of a pandemic. I was like, dude, have you been outside? Where these mystery shows happening? I saw a bunch of people jump on him basically on some old, okay, well, where's the gig? Where's this venue that's still booking people to perform? And he was basically on some, well, just anywhere, whatever, like go outside and perform. I'm like, yo, it's like 30 degrees outside. What the fuck are you talking about? And he was dead serious. Like, some of these artists are giving terrible advice to up and coming artists. They've forgotten how long they just don't understand what it takes to like get a record deal, maintain, like.
Yo, Mecca, on
So,
that point, can you tell us a little bit of what it was like booking shows as an artist before the pandemic, and what do you think it's going to be like after that? Because as somebody who is my favorite part of hip hop culture is definitely the live show by far, and so as somebody who's looking forward to being able to go back and buy a ticket and see a show, what do you think it's going to look like, on the people booking it, the people working it, and also the people, trying to go see it?
well, okay, for the people booking it, they are, if you've been able to hold on to your bread, if you've been able to hold on to the money that it takes, And I'm talking about the cash up front. If you've been able to hold on to your money throughout this pandemic, you're going to be good money because people are definitely going to want to run outside and see whatever they can see. Like the first opportunity to be in a crowded spot, drinking drinks and being shoulder to shoulder with other human beings, the opportunity is going to be Ramses. However, if you were depending on sponsors to book your artist, you might be in trouble because a lot of places are like barely getting by. And I don't know what kind of sponsorship money is actually available. Corporate sponsorship money might be there, but who knows? They might even dead at that. I'm not sure if those people's pockets are even still open to book a Rick Ross, a Busta Rhymes, a YF, a Lucia, anybody else.
I mean, but the theaters are there though, right? Like Nokia is still there. All these places are still there and presumably empty.
Yeah, but you gotta the venue is one thing. The promoter and the promoter money is something completely different.
But like you said, going back to it, does it really matter who's gonna be there when everybody wants to get out and get in there?
My thing is, can you afford the artist?
But again, to the point of like, does it really matter who the artist is as long as it's somebody?
It matters. It's gonna matter. It's gonna matter because think about it like this. You've been cooped up for Lord knows how long. Your first chance to get out and go see something, you was a hip hop connoisseur. You're not thinking about blowing. If you've been working, if you haven't been on unemployment, if you're not cracking, you're not gonna want to blow that money on something that you don't know is a guaranteed win, a guaranteed hit. You want to go out and have a ball your first time out. You don't want to play around. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this thing real cool. And then I thought it would. That took no time. Okay, I'm back. So I can see then again on the other side, for a bunch of people, it may not matter, right? I think as soon as we can get outside, the market's going to be wide open to go do whatever in the hell you can do. I think there's going to be a lot of deregulation when it comes to that. First of all, the venues are going to want to sell drinks. They're going to want to sell drinks. If they're smart, if they're trying to be in business for a while, the cost of everything for them will come down. They'll move at operating cost in the very beginning. Just operating costs, enough to pay the staff, enough to pay the light guy, the sound guy, the cleanup crew, and the dude who's performing, and that's it. Like they'll just operate at cost long enough to get themselves back up on their feet. But in New York alone, it's going to be nuts. I'm expecting like a show every night. I knew for a fact that the artists are starving to get out, especially if they got good projects. Like,
to cut you off,
to perform in front of y'all. Like, oh my God, this album, he can't wait to like perform it. It's the bane of his existence that he can't be outside right now performing like a song a night. Period.
The shit that most people right now in the pandemic are still being productive, and we have this whole like, is this like a real thing that Jadakiss reaches out to me to ask me to be on his mixtape, or Fat Joe or whatever else? It's like, it's obvious that like even the premier artists are going to have to go from $60,000 a night fees to $6,000 a night fees. So it's going to be a feeding frenzy. And like those that are, on the like trying to break ground shit, they're going to probably have to do shit for free while, Fabulous is willing to do a show for $5 racks.
Everything's going to get reset for a while. Like I said, it's going to be hard body out there for a minute. It's going to be pandemonium out there for a minute. Everybody's going to make moves. The more established artists, have been sitting dormant for a while. Everybody's gonna drop everything a little lower. And yes, a lot of the independent artists, a lot of the guys who I deal with on a personal level, selling merch is going to be your payday.
I mean, it should have been that way for a long time, I think, and especially
but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, I understand. Yeah. And I think it's going to be even harder now, though. Except for the the gear in terms of like hoodies, shirts, and everything like that on tour. But even like CDs now, people don't want to buy CDs anymore. So it's like
no, you can hang CDs up. If I were you guys, my investment would be into USB drives. If go find the cheapest cost one you can and start rocking with those.
Yeah, but my thing was always at shows, I'd always leave with somebody's mixtape or something like that I bought from the table of one of the artists in the beginning of the night. And that's how I remembered to check back in and see what they're doing later on. Because I already
hard
spent
reset, bro. Hard reset right here. This is it. Hard reset. Get in front of the game. Start passing these out. You can fit a whole bunch more of them in your bag. They're a lot easier to carry, and you can load them up all day. And even if people don't want your music necessarily, you can still sell this. You dig what I mean?
It could be 720 hours worth of music rather than 72.
Thank you. Or you can give them one album and load the rest up with some videos. You can put links on here to your Spotify, your SoundCloud. I'm suggesting everybody go sign up for Tidal. Tidal pays more than these other Yahoo spots. If you're an artist, make sure your music is on Tidal, but load these up, get ahead of the curve. T-shirts is still cool, hoodies is still cool, hats is still cool, buttons is still cool. But if you moving your music, get a USB drive and get while it gets good before they switch the format up again, because they're about to, USB drives alone are about to switch up. And the new line of products that's going to come out, the drives are going to be different. The spaces, the USB slots are going to be different.
Yo, that's a really good point and something that's funny, because you think like, all right, so CDs, the medium, nobody has a CD player in their car. They don't have a CD player in their house. The computer doesn't have a CD disk drive, right? Now you got USB drives for the public, but then all of a sudden a new generation of computers come out and it's not USB no more. It's like USB 3. Then that shit is irrelevant. But, to Chunk's point, walking away with something, I think what Mecc is saying is like artists are going to have to get more savvy about what they have at the merch table. You know what I mean? And that's imperative, and while, all of us are, aching to get back out once, because we're, New York scene people, right? We want to be on the scene, right? But that's been heavily regulated. So, then I think the phase that we're in right now, where the initial question about Clubhouse is like, this is the way that people are actually interacting during the pandemic. I think the EO Zoom is something that we created months and months ago, that the people who are on Clubhouse have been like pining for, waiting for, not having access to. It's too bad that the EO Zoom has not, expanded the reach to all those people, because they could have been here, but now they have a place to go. And that place doesn't have the Zoom etiquette that we have here and that we've established, that we've done. It's also because all of us respect each other. But like this exchange, I'm talking now, right? I'm saying something. Who's going to jump in next? You know what I'm saying? And when I'm on Clubhouse, I'm like, this is a fucking free for all. And like, there's moderators and shit, but like, I've been on joints that are like doctors talking over each other and contradicting each other about COVID. I've been on joints where it's like the title of the shit is "The Bitcoin Stock Will Make You Rich." Like, yo, big homie, Bitcoin is not a stock. So like your title just made me disinterested in your room. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But with all that said, I know that Dama is like a super well-versed person in the space, has been like, going through the rooms. And I feel like my initial question was kind of set up to like have you and Dama have a discourse on that, because we don't have a topic for today, and the room is not like, very populated. But I know that Dama has a lot to say about this. If you're in the room,
well, the topic is now Clubhouse. Yeah, the topic is now Clubhouse. As long as Dama's done with the dog, which I'm not mad at all. This is actually kind of cool watching Dama like really groom a pooch.
Yeah, I'm not done, but I could definitely participate while doing this.
Okay, hold on one second, Dama. Let Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, peace, everybody. Happy Sunday. just to bring
Hey, girl.
something. Hi, sis.
Hey, B.
What's up?
I feel this is nice.
It's a big ass digital hug for you, B. What's cooking?
So I was wondering if you heard about this deal that Ticketmaster has figured out a plan in which what they are gonna do in order to speed up shows in the US is get much less capacity at venues, but it's going to be based on COVID tests through a third party. So Ticketmaster will never have direct access to your medical information. You get COVID tested, that whoever that third party is then sends the information to Ticketmaster has access. But the purpose of this isn't to make money or any revenue. Wait. This is it. When I heard
No.
that, I was
I'm
like,
not
this is
laughing at you. I looked over at Dama's Square and it just cracked me up. The dog just assed up. It just cracked me up. Sorry,
Why'd
I'm
you
totally
even
listening.
bring
Go
that
ahead,
to my
Ticketmaster.
attention? I didn't even see
Because
what was
I
going
don't want to
on.
be the only person
so
who saw
wrong.
it.
You know I'm a
That poor
child,
dog.
Mecc. I'm a child. I can't even look that way now. So anyway,
Are you kidding me?
the whole purpose of this for Ticketmaster wasn't with the intention of, creating immediate revenue. It was to grab an audience and to remind them of like the first laugh. I see you, Mac. It's
No, I'm fine. I'm
to
listening.
remind. Okay, it's so that there's so many ways to get tickets, right? But they want to be the first to be ahead of like fixing this problem of live shows, and so that let's say 2 years from now, a year from now, whatever, when full capacity is back up and running, they're hoping that show goers are going to be like, oh, I remember Ticketmaster did, had us at live shows in the very beginning. So I'm going to be loyal to them and not go to StubHub or the plethora of other, ways to buy tickets. And that's their plan, So it's not about making money, but yeah, it's about keeping your not audience, keeping your people that buy your
Loyalty.
shit. What's
You
that?
want the brand loyalty. Yeah. You want the
Exactly.
brand loyalty. Yeah. It's smart because Ticketmaster apparently they have the money to invest in that level of technology. Somebody else like
Hey
wait,
guys, if you're not talking,
who's
can you please go on mute?
yeah, Michelle, is that you?
Yeah, there was one
J-Lo
more thing.
arguing in the back.
Sorry. Oh no, that was my TV. Sorry.
You want me to be mature and then you do stuff like that. I don't know what you got to pick a team and play. Go ahead. There was one more thing.
Okay, unmute. So the other thing was it was who's the dude on Shark Tank, something Damon. He was the one that I saw interviewed about this.
Damon John, baby.
That's him,
Fubu.
Damon John. So somebody asked him, like, what's going to happen to all these venues from the stadiums all the way down to the, 100 capacity venues in New York City and in all these cities. Like, are they going to stay open? And he was saying they'll find a way, they'll manage because they'll get grants, this and the next. As far as the stadiums go, they're like the only other option would be to tear them down and build condos. And, that's not going to happen, So it's like, I thought it was interesting that Ticketmaster is getting ahead of the game and doing something to find a way. I mean, it might be 300 people at Madison Square Garden with 50 rows in between them, but at least it feels like, somebody is trying to entertain us outside a Twitch party. You know what I mean? Because something that I miss the most, I'm like, God, I have a bucket list of groups that I have to see live, Okay.
I'm Ticketmaster. I'm making a phone call over to City MD. I'm going to get their representatives together. We're all going to get in a room. and I'm going to go, listen, I'm going to sell tickets to my events from here on out through you guys. Here's what it's going to take. Whoever goes and gets whoever decides that they want to come to a Ticketmaster event, they have to show up with a test from you guys that they took the same day. Do you have same day testing?
They more likely, like the way Dave Chappelle did his tour, they hire rapid test people to be at every single show site in every city, because that's available and it's expensive, but it's the only surefire way to make sure that you didn't go to the test spot, then go to a fucking bar and get COVID, like at the door.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, and granted, that's a safer way to do it, and that's a smarter way to do it. My point was to say that if I'm Ticketmaster, that's the links I'm willing to go to just to ensure that I can get people in the door. I'm not even telling you that that's the safest way. I'm like, hey, look, show up with your test that you took the same day. I mean, you can catch it from point A to point B, right? Like you can go to City MD unless the venue is around the corner. And even if it is, somebody coughs in your face from between this block and that block, that's COVID. They don't cough COVID
exactly.
all in your drink. It's a wrap.
I think that's like the conundrum that we're in. It's like, all right, so like I want to go home for Christmas, right? But I take a test in Brooklyn, and then I get on a New Jersey Transit and go to my parents' house. And I took the test. I was negative there, but like then I was exposed all these other times. What Dom just said is something Dave Chappelle been doing since he deaded the Comedy Central thing, and like less than COVID tests. When I would show up to a Dave Chappelle concert, which I was invited to a few like I went to when he hosted Saturday Night Live, and he was doing his like just practice joints. We get there, you had to take your phone out your pocket. Like everybody knows you got a phone. Security checked you for your phone, takes your phone, puts it in a bag that gets a lock.
Yeah,
they put it behind there. Chappelle's been on that shit.
Yeah, he's been.
You know what I mean? So I think why the more the merrier too. Like, yo, come give me the fucking all right, you don't have a fever. Now take a test, rapid test, go sit down and still do the social distancing. But like more than that, right? Because shit is not going to go back to normal with us in a physical space right away, right? How does this forum and the Clubhouse forum actually turn into something that's more exclusive, where like, said artists can say, I'm gonna, make my own personal app where you got access to me and me only. And like, all right, maybe it's not, Clubhouse numbers with millions of iPhone users. It's, cross-platform users, but everyone can access the app, and you have direct access to the superstar. And I think that like more as we continue in a pandemic, and it will last more than a year, if it lasts 2, if it lasts 3, that's a necessity. They're saying that the way we're rolling out the vaccine right now, it'll take 10 years to administer it to everybody. So like, hopefully the shit just goes away, but hope soap on a rope, like whatever, like, you know what I mean? What are you talking about? Like, no.
You sound like Pat. Trump. I hope it goes away.
Yo, Pat, to step back to what you were saying, that kind of sounds like, you ever heard of sofa sounds?
No, I mean.
Yeah, Pat, like what you were talking about, where it's going to get smaller and more intimate, that kind of sounds like the sofa sound shit that they had going around for a while before the pandemic, where it was like, people would have like, rooftop parties / like whatever, small club type deals, and it was kind of something where it's like a draw of a hat, where it's like, I sign up to go to this, and there's only whatever 50 people going, and it's this genre of music, or it's this kind of style. We don't really know who you're going to see, but it's going to be a show and it's going to be this kind of music, or it's going to be a show and they're going to be serving this. It's like a themed smaller party type deal, which I don't see why that hasn't continued to go on.
Because capacity and regulations have deaded that, number one. Number two, weather-wise, every place doesn't have what New York has as far as seasons is concerned.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, what they had, it was more of like, it could be a spot where there's only 15 people there.
what you're trying to do right now is
more
justify. You're trying to justify a show to people who don't want to hear it. Like, it makes sense to us. I understand where you're coming from, but as far as people getting sick, as far as trying to protect a country from a virus, 15 is 15 too many if you don't have it under control.
And no, but it's not worth it to show the amount of investment that it takes to throw a proper show or event or anything like that. Takes 15 people outside of the audience.
No way.
Like,
no fucking way.
Mm-hmm. The staff alone is going to be 15 people. You're not going to sell 15 people enough money worth of drinks and tickets to make opening up worth it.
No
these
way.
Places,
no.
the rents on these spaces. Nokia is not like the PlayStation Theater isn't owned by PlayStation. Like, they don't own that whole building and that whole space and just be like, hey, do it. Everything we do is profit. No, like 9 times out of 10, they're paying rent. Most of these places are paying rent, and opening up is ridiculous.
I mean, just to keep the lights on, right? But like you on that. So but Chunk, I really want to hear you speak because I'm really vibing with your input. But what we want to do is stay on cam if we're speaking, right? That's like one of the rules of the Zoom, right?
You know when it's worth it? When it's a drive-in, which I've done so far, and you can't really do that in New York City, obviously, but except in certain places, but drive-in concerts. Like, I opened up with Lady Earth for Lion Babe, and it was a real good amount of people there. They do 6-foot distance between the cars. You got to stay with the party that you can. Obviously, people mingle or whatever the case is, but there's security walking around, and it's an open field that all you have to do is hire basically a production crew to build the stage on. Like, everything is, maintainable, and it becomes worth it when you're charging like $50-$60 a car, which even places out here that opened up in Austin, like Empire, which is the best venue in Austin, Texas, we're friends with the owner, and he was telling us about how they do pods where you come with your crew of like 4 to 6 people, and each pod is $250. Or no, it's not $250. I'm sorry. It depends on the show or some shit like that, but it ends up being like 50. Yeah, it ends up being like $20 to $50 a person, depending on the size pod it is or whatever the case is. So and then the drinks get served to you by the bartenders. Like, you don't go to the bar. And they've been, making it work off of that. But if your venue is not able to do that, and people are not financially like able to like go support their local rapper at a local venue, where they're gonna have to stand around and fucking possibly get sick and shit like that. Like, nobody is trying to do that shit at all. Like, people don't do that shit.
Like, you guys push me against the wall. I'm not trying to say that a performer should risk themselves to make some money and make their fans happy and put themselves and the people who want to pay to see them in a situation that's not safe. What I'm saying is, going back to
we're rap artists. We've been doing that since before COVID.
Where you can set it up like a banquet or a wedding style, where it's a few tables spread out. Not.
Yo, I really want to hear what Chunk has to say, because Chunk is like the consummate audience member. You know what I'm saying? He been around EO Dub for 18 years, and he never like jumped in on a verse and shit. He want to be around to see it. So for us, industry advice might come from the fan, the consummate fan.
Oh, and no, I hear him, and I see the want and need to get out and go do these shows. I absolutely dig it, but the logistics don't match. That's the only issue. The logistics don't match the desire to pull it off. Like, Dama is talking about venues and the capabilities of venues.
Those are outside
95% of the 95% of the venues
than we have in New York.
95% of the venues in New York do not have the capacity to pull off, do not have the capability to pull off the stuff that Dom is talking about. They just fucking don't. If they did, they'd have did it already.
Okay,
if they did, they would have did it when it was hot outside.
Out for you?
Shoot.
So the Everlast did like a live video stream a couple months ago out in California from one of like the historic venues out there, where they did a table setup where you have to come and be part of the group, sit at the table, and there's only a certain amount of tables spread out from each other. They They had drink service, but it's like 1 or 2, whatever they had to do with that, and it worked out, and it's fine. And they've continued to do those kind of things in LA. Now, I'm not trying to say LA is the basis to set our example on. I'm just saying that at some point, something has to give.
Yeah, but you can't refer to LA and then look at LA where like New York was like underwater with the amount of cases and shit, and then LA is like everybody, they're a horrible example. You know what I mean? I'm talking about like, all right, so Bong, like drive by, drive in fucking shows. Like let's like, you know what I mean? Like we got drive-in political events and shit. You know what I'm saying? Drive-in movies. Like that shit is actually lit. Like I wish more of those shits existed. That'd be a nice way to like, experience that without going to a theater. You know what I mean? Like there's all these things.
That though. For the land that's open like that in New York, you'd have to have permission of the state or county or wherever you're at.
Well, no, in New York, you just need permission of the depending on where you're going in New York, you just need permission of the venue.
The landowner.
Shea Stadium parking lots are wide open. Now, Shea Stadium is a privately owned company. That's a privately owned space. So if they decided to do something very specific, they have a certain amount of guidelines and regulations that they need to fall into, but they can 100% pull that off. But now you run into other issues. For instance, the parking lot is all echo. You need to set up a sound system to where you're killing the echo when people can actually hear the music. And now, again, we've gone back to weather permitting, whereas before, even if it was raining, nobody gave a fuck. But now if you come out and it's raining, you have all these exposed wires, all this exposed sound equipment. They're in trouble.
But there's a fix for that. Chunk, hold on. There's a fix for that.
Shea Stadium, they all have park, like Warped Tour did outside those venues for years. That was their spot. So all that's mapped out. You can go and do that kind of shit easily.
That if they decided that it was here's what I think happened. Ultimately, here's what I think happened. I think these ideas were floated by a lot of the places that owned spaces where this kind of show could happen. Parking lots, big enough parking lots, big enough, wide enough areas. I think all these ideas were floated, right? I think what happened was people drank the Kool-Aid. They listened to Trump. They believed that it was going to go away. And all they had to do was sit tight and they wouldn't have to make any major modifications. And eventually we would get back to normal. So they didn't make any moves. They didn't look to switch things over for how things are now. They didn't go forward thinking. They just decided to hold out and wait till we got back to normal, not understanding that normal was no time soon. And by the time it came to them, like, oh shit, we might be underwater like this for like another 2-3 years, it was a little too late. Now it's all seasonal. It's all like, you know what I mean? They didn't think to make those moves. A bunch of those companies probably went under. The companies that could have hooked that stuff up, like speaker companies and all these places that were dependent on live shows for business. You don't know what shape those businesses are in. The money kept going out. No money was coming in. You don't know. Like Shea Stadium is just quiet. They're busy trying to revamp baseball and figure their life out.
And like, 6 people apart, whatever. My main shit that I say all day, right? Normal wasn't that lit anyway. Like, what you mean back to normal? Back to like, everything that we did beforehand. Now, politically, definitely not lit. But also, there's a chance to like, edge your way in to change the game because the game has been changed. So what was normal that dope? Like, was waiting on a line, like, can that be rethunk? Like, was access to an artist, was being crowded like cattle in a standing only venue, was that lit? No, that was not lit anyway. So
Van, we're not going to do that anyway.
Yes. I don't know, man.
For a certain amount of people, yes. Like maybe me and you were tired of that. Maybe me and you are over that. But there's a good chunk of people.
Yeah, there's people literally on TikTok and fucking Instagram posting pictures of exactly what you're describing, saying "take me back." So yeah, there's definitely
there was an audience for everybody, bro. Like I'm not a fan of Lady Gaga, but I know she packs the place out. I can't shit on people who love what they love. Like I'm not into S&M, but the S&M is never out of business. So, just because we ain't into it, and I hear you, because that really wasn't my scene too much.
I'm not
either.
into hardcore music, but those are my favorite shows to work. The crowd surfers and the energy in those shows that they had, those are my favorite things to work.
See how fast
And
that
I don't
happened?
want to be in the mosh pit, but I like watching it from the outside and catching them as they fall over.
Yo, being in the mosh pit's the best thing ever.
See how
There's like
fast
no-
that happened? Boom,
Taking it.
boom, two done.
No live
Finished.
experience better than a mosh pit, but at the same time, I would do it twice a year. Like I think people are overselling the volume of what's going to happen with live in the future. So I think the experience still exists, but the demand changes.
Well, the demand is going to be through the roof. Put it this way.
Initially, like
Yeah,
but then it's
me,
going to
ladies.
go and level
Pardon
out,
me
you know?
to the women on here. Pardon me. Don't anybody take this harsh. But homeboy, like I know, the best head you ever gotten in life, you don't get tired of that. Like, and if it goes away, you just remember how good it was. And the second you get a chance to get it again,
But
you just
to
want to
counter
get it all
that,
the time.
To go in the same direction, a lot of people got to go in the pooper for the first time now. And so there's a lot of things on the table that never existed before, just to counter that idea. And that's the thing. A lot of people's budgets changed. Like for me, it's like, yo, I'm a lot more comfortable at Uber Eats now than I ever was in my life.
Yeah, but one thing done out of boredom and or necessity is different from something that was done out of something being done out of nostalgia and out of I miss this. Like I really miss doing this, which is where we get back to chunking shows. Shows like I think everybody here agrees, the volume. I think one thing we should anticipate is sheer volume, the volume of shows when these things open back up. You got to remember, everybody's trying to make their money back. Everybody, if they got to do a show every day of the week to get people outside back into these venues, they're behind on rent. They're behind on like, one second, they're behind on like production cost. They're behind on everything across the board. Everybody needs to get paid. If they can do a show every day for a month, thank you. Like if they can have, I don't think they're gonna care who it is. Get in here. If we can do a show on a Wednesday night at 6:00 that don't end till midnight, and we can sell drinks the whole night. Oh my God. The liquor distributors are going to be wanting to make a deal. There'll be 3 shows at a chunk. Am I right? There'll be 3 or 4 shows if they can fit it in.
I'll probably go to all 3 of them too.
See how fast that happens? There's an audience of chunks. An audience of one.
You got 3 albums, motherfucker.
Front row for every show. Woo! Hitting like 5 motherfuckers just screaming at the top of their lungs, throwing beers. Holden Boy's going to come through and start a 2-person mosh pit. It's going to be disgusting in there, but that's what's going to happen. I think all creatives, everybody who's listening to this and anybody who's not, start anticipating volume. Start figuring out what you're going to do with the volume of shows that are going to happen when and if the doors, when they find a way for the doors to open back up. Stay on top of that. When you see your opportunity, jump at it, whether it's the vaccine flowing. I don't know how some of y'all feel about that. Well, I know how some of y'all feel about that, but figure it out, because you don't have a lot of options here. Like if they don't give you an option, then you don't have an option. You got to figure that out. But whatever it's going to be, whether it's a sticker with a gold star on it or the vaccine test or whatever it looks like, or you got a homeboy who makes fake IDs and he can make you an ID that says you got the vaccine and you don't. Like whatever it needs to be.
Let's not even like promote that. I would say like, the reason that we're in the predicament.
I can barely hear you, Van. You faded.
Oh, you kind of cut it.
Van, you fading out. We can't hear you. Your sound is completely gone. Sorry. Is that just me? Can y'all hear
No,
him?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I hear that same experience.
Sammy, I can see you. Can you hear him?
No.
Okay, Sammy.
He's talking too much wisdom. They want to make him hustle.
I got a question.
Oh shit, Sammy has an accent. Go ahead, Holden. Go ahead.
Yo, are the venues like all right where you're at? Like that's a huge thing I'm concerned about locally, because like our venues aren't doing well. So like the issue isn't necessarily going to be the volume to me. It's going to be who controls the venues once everything opens up. So I don't know how the venues are at where y'all are at, and I'm real curious how that's doing.
Well, right now they're all closed. Like they're They're just
temporary
shut
closed
down.
or like
They haven't.
Yeah,
There's
like
no signs. They're just
semi-permanently closed. Like,
Yeah.
can you hear me now, Mac?
Yes, we can all
Yeah.
hear you.
What I was gonna say is like we are under the Trump like this ain't real, like do what you want, be Florida, be Georgia, and then everybody gets sick shit, right? So
They don't talk about Texas and LA enough in that one because Texas
I
been
don't want-
wilding from the beginning.
and I don't want to talk bad about Texas. My brother lives there, my sis lives there. So let me just keep that out the conversation.
Damn that! No! I got people in California. They out there freshly fucked up. They're fucking up.
Yeah,
left,
they're
right, and center.
wilding, right? So now everybody wilding, right? And like what it's gonna turn into is like if you want to get on a plane, you better have a test. If you want to walk into a venue, you either better have a test or like a badge like Mecca was just describing. Now, like, do you have a badge that is like a fake ID? That's crazy, yo. Like that's gonna happen too, right? So there's a lot of things that like transpire between there and now, and I think there is room for an artist to be more, self-sufficient and direct with their audience because they have this opportunity where no one can go out to meet each other and they can develop this at this moment, right? So that's where we're talking about EO Zoom and we're talking about Clubhouse and we're talking with Mecca, who is like a consummate industry professional, like artist, writer, showmanship, booking shows, like all the hats, right? Like what happens, like is it just that we step back and don't embrace this next wave, or we wait for things to return to what we could say quote unquote normal?
Are we, when you say we, do you mean artists, fans? Who are we talking about?
I mean we saying like us in the know, but really we're talking about like artist and fan experience.
Okay. Those are going to be, none of that is a monolith, right? None of what you're describing is a monolith. With that said, there are going to be, the answer is multifaceted. My advice is to prep for more than one likely outcome. The more likely outcome I'm predicting is a rush to get back to a semblance of life as we knew it before COVID. Most people are going to want to see life as we knew it before COVID, getting dressed, going out, having drinks.
But there is no that. There is no return to. There's moving forward. People are going to be different now anyway.
You and I know that. What I'm saying is people are going to go for it. So whatever even looks like it, they're going to run out the door to try to get down with. Whatever it even looks, whatever is closest to it.
I see you.
As a creative, you need ammo. You're going to need bullets in that gun, because when they start coming around and they're thirsty for anything they can get their hands on, from a marketing standpoint, if you can push something that reminds people of where things used to be, that's going to be a good look. If you can give them a taste of what they've been missing, that's going to be a good look. If you can provide them some semblance of the life that they had to leave behind, that's when it's going to happen for you. And that's when you'll make yourself a darling to the people who are coming outside again. And I'm not telling you it's going to be exactly like it was. I'm more on Van's side. Like, I really wasn't that, crazy about.
I just think that there's a new market that isn't okay. So like, to me, it's an age split, right? Like, a lot of the youth is going to be all over that real life stuff, but like all the parents are really digging the online stuff, and they're being introduced to things that they never really had. And when I say parents, I'm generalizing to a certain age group that typically wouldn't ever do this. So I think everyone's right here, man. Like, there is just going to be a live show, whether it's legal or otherwise.
On that note, you have to figure out who who your market is. See, I agree with you, but that's why I said the problem's not the answer is multifaceted. Who's your audience? Is your audience the parents, or your audience mostly the kids? Or do you have a genre that goes in the middle?
So I'm telling you, I'm in my 30s. Audience is the parents.
Well, Holden, we're going to wrap up this segment in a minute. I'd like to hear, Mecca,
Don't apologize, bro. We're all, thank you, Van. We're all family here. No need to apologize, bro. Again, whoever your audience is the one you need to prep for. Don't prep for an audience that isn't yours. You're in your 30s.
Wait, the whole show is about to be over?
Well, Dom, it's 8:58.
Open mic starts in 2 minutes.
We didn't even talk about fucking Clubhouse, not once.
Yes,
And
we did.
we did a
You
little
had a
bit,
dog's ass in the air when we were doing it.
And beyond that,
Nah, but we switched right to shows. We didn't even get to chop it up.
Mecca himself will choose whether or not next week is on or not, and we'll promote it as such. And we will be back here at the same bat time, bat channel. And for lack of transparency, you know what I'm saying, between everyone, I'm sorry if you thought you had a moment to talk. We got 1 minute for Mecca to wrap up, and that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, well, Van feels like the principal in this motherfucker. All right, listen. Get yourself together, content-wise. You can't go wrong with content. Personally, I'm going to start my own Clubhouse room. I'm going to do Mechanism Mondays on Clubhouse starting tomorrow night. I'm going to release Mechanism Monday on Instagram. Then I'm going to open this exact same thing back up on Clubhouse tomorrow. So at least I can vouch for the advice that I'm getting. I'm going to invite some of my more famous and smart friends. So I won't be the smartest person in the room. I want to have a lot of people in there. And like Van also said, I'd like to hear from you guys because the answer could come from somebody. The answer to some of these questions that we don't even know we need to ask could come from Chunk, Holden, Boy, Sammy, Michelle, Dama, could come from anywhere. So please pull up and let's keep the party going. And in the meantime, in between time, I'll be back in this bitch on Sunday because I do what I say I'm going to do, and I'm saying I'm going to do it. So I will see everybody in their funky little squares and hairstyles and dark red rooms and big Afro puffs. I'll see everybody in the building on Sunday. Van, thank you for this, cousin. You're the best.
I love you, bro.
Love you too, man. Y'all be safe in this bitch.
See you in